Uh, Good afternoon, dear students. The- So today we will have a final wrap up on Othello, which is part of your syllabus. Um, okay. So students, as you know, um, Othello is one of the tragedies of Shakespeare. The other tragedies, for example, are Hamlet, King Lear. These are the celebrated tragedies of uh, Shakespeare. And Shakespeare's uh, plays can be uh, divided into comedy, tragedy, the last plays. All right, comedy, tragedy, and the last plays. And of course, you have the history plays. Richard the Second, Richard the First, right? Henry the Fourth, all the plays related to the to King Henry. Shakespeare. And Shakespeare's plays can be divided into comedy, tragedy, the last plays. Okay, I was just doing an audio check. So let's plunge into Othello. Let's go through the plot line of the play Othello while also trying to do a critical appreciation of the text as we go along and looking at the major issues in this play. So, as I told you, Othello is one of the celebrated tragedies of Shakespeare. And Shakespeare learnt the art of tragedy from the Greek tragedy. But the Greek tragedy, as you know, had its limitations. The Greek tragedy had to adhere to the unities of time, place, and action. And that is why in the Greek tragedies, they had a chorus which would report action that was actually not taking place within the 3 hours, which is the time of action on stage. So anything that could be represented within the duration of the play, that would be represented on the stage, and events relating to the past or events related to an action that was taking place uh, outside the locale weather or rather outside the stage would be reported by a chorus. And then in the Greek tragedy, you had to have the tragic hero. Okay, the tragic hero had to be a man of high standing in society, like a king, a ruler, a prince, right? And about one of high birth. So that the fall of this person from his high position would provide that kind of um, tragic element which would which would move the audience to tears, which would make them lament the fall of such a person. So when a person has this kind of tragedy in his life, fate plays a very important part, whether it is the life of a king or a prince or a pauper. When it comes to tragedy, uh, fate plays a very important part. So bad luck also accompanies uh, the whole series of events. And in fact, it could be orchestrated by a good deal of bad luck. Secondly, tragedy in the um, Greek format had to produce catharsis. So when the viewers saw tragedy, it had to invoke in them such feelings of sorrow that they felt their emotions were spent. Okay, catharsis is supposed to be, like it's like a purgative. It cleanses them of all emotions. And then the tragic hero had to have some flaw in his character, in his mental makeup. So that is called hamartia, the tragic flaw, Hamartia, the tragic flaw, which um, is also responsible for his tragedy. So when you look at real life situations and about the sad things, the tragedies that are happening in the lives of people, it is happening due to forces beyond their control, which we call fate. It also happens due to some quality or lack of qualities in them, something in their personality, something in their mental makeup, which is responsible. And um, it is also tragic because the character who is undergoing all this trauma is not aware of his own tragic flaw. And this is where we see a lot of dramatic irony in the play. Dramatic irony. What is dramatic irony? Dramatic irony is when the audience is at a higher level of awareness than the character on stage. So the audience can see the character messing up. All right. The audience is because of the, the plot and events that the audience have witnessed or conversations that the audience have heard, which the character is unaware of. So all that the character is unaware about himself and the world around him, the things that are happening in his world. So those things render him so vulnerable, him or her so vulnerable. And you have the audience at a higher level of awareness about what is happening, and therefore they feel this extreme pity for the tragic hero or heroine. um, One of the critics who is oft quoted on Shakespearean tragedy, and you can say is the one point of reference for Shakespearean tragedy, or probably the earliest critics. The earliest critic of Shakespearean tragedy is A.C. Bradley. So A.C. Bradley uh, makes it clear that Shakespearean tragedy does not conform to the Greek tragedy. That's obvious. It doesn't conform because he doesn't stick to the unities of time, place, and action. Scene changes, uh, then past and present. Um, so location changes, spatially there's change, temporally there's a change. Shakespeare doesn't adhere to these three unities, but nevertheless, Shakespeare has taken the essential ideas of the tragic hero who has a tragic flaw, and how fate is an accomplice in the scheme of things. So, the Shakespearean tragedy has three parts. The first part is the exposition. The second, where you see the beginning growth, how it goes from the beginning to the middle, and then you have the final section, which is the catastrophe. So even if you take all Aristotelian drama, you have the, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And between the beginning and the middle, you have the rising action, and then you have the climax. Okay, the climax, and then you have the falling action, which is the denouement, which leads to the denouement, to the end of the play. So where everything is where all the complexities um, are explained, or we get to see what caused every all the unhappiness, all the pain, sorrow, misery, and also the regret about how all these things could be avoided. But that's why it's tragedy, because uh, people are in the dark about some things that are happening in their lives, and they cannot see light at that moment in their lives. They cannot see light, and darkness, this darkness that envelops them, is the cause of their tragedy. Now, as I told you, it draws on the principles of Greek tragedy. So you have the tragic hero here being Othello, and he is a person of a high rank. He is a general in the army, and tragedy cannot take place most of the time without the evil, without the presence of evil. The presence of evil could come in the form of a person who is jealous. Um, it could also be in the form of ambition, right? If you see Macbeth, you have um, a Macbeth's ambition, and you have Macduff's, the King Macduff's innocence, right? There you have and then you have the ambition of Lady Macbeth, right? So there is the evil comes in through ambitious people. Evil comes through jealous people. Then and why this evil and jealousy? Why this? Why we cannot understand why people are ambitious? Yes, ambition seems to cater to some deeper need in them, and jealousy could also be because of some feeling of hurt or inadequacy. So here we have Iago, who is jealous. And Iago is known for his machinations, Machinations, machination scheming. All right. He plots, he schemes, he devises, and things go to plan. Things go as per Iago's plan. So this is where you have the forces of good and evil at work. In a comedy which has a happy ending, there are happy coincidences, right? Things that make it a happy ending. The lost are found. The people who have some temporary sadness are made happy. The lover's love is requited, right? He doesn't mean remain a sad lover. But on the other hand, in a tragedy, the whole plot is, knitted in such a way that all the most um, unfortunate things are threaded together, all the most unfortunate events. And this misfortune comes because of bad luck, fate, ill fated, being that person being an ill fated person, and also because of the presence of evil. How could you have a tragedy without the presence of evil? So the presence of evil is represented by Othello. But sorry, is represented by Iago. So this, it set the opening scene, which in other words is called the exposition. Now, as we saw in the first slide about the structure of the Shakespearean tragedy. The first scene is the exposition, and it's not the exposition is part of any play, not just the a tragedy and even a comedy. Um, it gives you the information that you need to know about the issue or what is central to the plot. Okay. If you see Romeo and Juliet, you come to know it's a tragedy where you know that there are two families at war with each other, two families who are not getting along. So then you see Merchant of Venice, you find that it's called a tragic comedy by many people. Merchant of Venice, it's about business. You have this conversation between Antonio and Bassanio. And you know that Antonio is a merchant, right? And Bassanio is his good friend. And then by and by, we know that um, there is this loss that Antonio faces in his overseas ventures. He is a merchant, he trades, and his ships have hit the rocks. Now, so Othello is set in the opening scene is set in a street in Venice. Uh, so you have this whole Italian setting, and we come to know even in this very first scene that there's a person called Roderigo who is interested in um, Desdemona, and he wants to marry her, and he is seeking the services of Iago as a go-between. Rodrigo is a rich man who wants to marry the beautiful Desdemona. But Desdemona has made a choice that is totally unexpected. She has fallen in love with a Moor, an African person. Um, and then we also come to know that Iago he has some unhappiness. He is mm, sore about something. And we learn that he is sore about being overlooked by the General Othello for the position of lieutenant, and a person named Michael Cassio has been placed. So these are these this information gives you the background and all the elements, all the very seed of the conflict that we are going to witness is sown in this exposition. Here we see that Iago vents his anger, his feelings, and he has some injured feelings. So as we said earlier, that injury is because he's ambitious and he has not got the position that he wanted. But at the same time, Iago is credited with something called motiveless malignancy, a term that used by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So it could be a misleading term. Iago has a motive for what he does. Iago is angry. Iago is jealous. But then how could you call it motiveless malignancy? What is malignancy? Evil. Okay. Benign is good. Malignant is uh, cantankerous, evil. Now, this motiveless malignancy could very well be a means of saying that, irrespective of circumstances being for him or against him, Iago is the type of person who will always find something to be sore about. Okay, he has basically a morbid personality. So basically, is not a positive, joyful person. He's a very morbid person. And the direct opposite of Iago is Othello. Othello is a person who has a bright outlook on life. He's not a pessimist. He is brave, he is a great general, he wins in war, and he has um, this strength of character. So this is what Iago has to say about um, Michael Cassio, right? He feels that Michael Cassio is undeserving of the position, and um, A.C. Bradley's comment on Iago is that evil has not been depicted in any text as powerfully as it has been depicted in the character of Iago. And another thing about evil is, and the nature of evil, which Shakespeare brings out in all his plays, is that once individuals set out on a course of evil, there's no turning back. Even Macbeth, in his play, when he realizes that he has gone very deep into evil, he says that he has gone too far to turn back. He's already in the middle of the river, and that he needs to cross to the other side. He can't get back to where he started. This is one thing about tragedy. You see that even in Dr. Faustus uh, by Christopher Marlowe. When Dr. Faustus realizes that he has played with evil, he's too deep into it. He'd rather pursue the his career in evil and take it to the conclusion that it was heading towards, rather than retrace his steps. This expression, thus he's caught in his own web and he cannot liberate himself. This is what A.C. Bradley says about Iago. He's caught in his own web, cannot liberate himself, right? There's no question of looking back, all right? And there is no ebb in the tide. And let's continue with the progress of the plot. So in this first scene itself, you are acquainted with, you see Iago and Rodrigo in conversation, and then be acquainted with the fact that Othello, Desdemona has run away from her father's house, from Brabantio's house. And Iago and Rodrigo both are now scheming to to foil foil Desdemona's plot escape, to draw to the attention of her father that she has run away. And Iago's interest is to hit out at Othello. Rodrigo's interest is to get Desdemona. So each has their own interest in bringing to Brabantio's notice that Desdemona is missing. At the same time, we see that in this kingdom, there is the threat of war, and the services of Othello are required to fight against the Turks. So the Duke of Venice wants Othello to get the troops ready and to proceed to Cyprus, which is under this kingdom of Venice, and that Othello has to take charge and uh, desist this Turkish invasion of Cyprus. All right, and recover Cyprus for the Venetians. So now Brabantio is a citizen of Venice, and he thinks, see, and Othello is an outsider. He's an African, but his services are required by this kingdom. Brabantio thinks that he will have a say in this matter, that the Duke will listen to him regarding his complaint about Othello taking away his daughter. But Othello's stature, Othello's exploits as an army general, and the dependence that the Duke has on Othello make make the Duke give the judgment in favor of Othello, because the Brabantio is given a hearing, so also Othello is given a hearing. And when Othello is given a chance to speak, he says that it was Desdemona who was attracted to him when she heard the story of his exploits. When Othello was explaining to Brabantio, narrating to him all the wonderful deeds, brave deeds that he has accomplished, and his great exploits, Desdemona was silently listening in the inner chambers of the house, and that attracted her to him. She fell in love with him. So um, now the Duke finds Othello's explanation convincing, and he supports Othello and Desdemona's decision to marry. So this is Othello explaining how the romance came about. All right. Well, here I want to draw your attention to the prefiguring of the tragic end that is going to take place through the words of Brabantio. Brabantio tells Othello, the look to her more, if thou hast eyes to see. She has deceived her father and may deceive thee. So this word deceive, okay, Desdemona being charged by her father with deceiving is uh, a seed sown by the dramatist, which he will further exploit with the progress of the play to show that Desdemona will apparently, not actually, will apparently deceive Othello, right? So this mistrust of Desdemona is sown in the mind of her husband, even at the outset. Well, the subconscious mind, it would probably have gone into his subconscious mind. Well, Desdemona is pure, is innocent, and she is the dutiful wife. She insists that she will not stay uh, at home, but rather risk traveling with her husband and accompany her husband to the war front. Now, Iago is a jealous person. Iago is ambitious. Iago is also interested in money. You know that Rodrigo has been bribing Iago to get him to win, bring Desdemona into his life. So in this passage, we see that um, Iago very crisply states the that Rodrigo and he have a common interest in ruining the happiness of Othello. My cause is hatred. Okay. So both of them have a hatred of Othello for different reasons. And he says, let us be conjunctive in our revenge against him. Now he's encouraging um, Rodrigo to cuckold Othello. You know what cuckolding is? Cuckolding is making a fool of the husband by having a clandestine or secret relationship with his wife, having an affair with a man's wife. So he encourages him to cuckold him. Now, Iago, here again we see why it's called motiveless malignancy, because Iago says that this kind of play of revenge or uh, engagement, indulgence in evil for him is sport. Many people have said that Iago as a character is reminiscent of Satan in Paradise Lost, because Satan is also motivated by revenge, because he wants to take revenge against God, because he was in a high position as an angel, and he has been, because he was over ambitious, he was thrown down from heaven. Lucifer was thrown, this beautiful angel became was relegated to hell, was banished to hell. Um, so he had his revenge. He had lost his position. And Satan, he also employed subtlety. He was crafty as well. So this kind of resonance with the character of Satan in Paradise Lost is there in the construction of um, the Iago. But you must remember that um, Paradise Lost as a text came after Othello. Shakespeare precedes Milton. Nevertheless, the biblical story of the Garden of Eden and Satan's subtlety coming as a serpent, deceiving, misleading, and all the biblical um, information and knowledge about Satan was available for Shakespeare, because the Bible, of course, precedes Shakespeare. So then in Cyprus, we see they're now in Cyprus and there's the battle going on. Here, Cassio is very fond of Desdemona. He has great respect for her, and and when Desdemona arrives, right, the group which has already landed, which includes Cassio, they go to receive them, and Cassio holds her hand. So Iago is is attuned. His mind is all wired to catch every appearance of infidelity, every suggestion of infidelity. What's infidelity? Unfaithfulness. Infidelity. Infidelity. So when a man is not faithful to his wife, or a woman is not faithful to her husband, you call it infidelity. So any semblance of infidelity, that is what Iago is looking for. So Iago tells the audience that he will use this as this little hand holding to ensnare Cassio. So Othello arrives and greets his wife, and then He wants to celebrate because he's newly wedded. Um, just a moment. Sorry for the interruption. I will, yeah, let's continue. So, um, then you can see that Iago um, is has got a very impure mind, and he is um, he is also trying to trap. Basically, he's doing it. He's looking at uh, the behavior of Desdemona, Cassio, Othello through a very critical lens, and he is looking at it for opportunity. That is what he is seeking. So, as Satan was looking for opportunity to deceive Eve and to trap her, the same way Iago is looking for an opportunity uh, to wreak havoc in the marriage of Othello and Desdemona. So, on the one hand, he is promising Rodrigo that he can uh, fulfill Rodrigo's desire to have Desdemona. So, a man with uh, good intentions and goodwill would definitely not work towards a newly wedded man, a general in the army, being cuckolded. So his intention is to make Othello to get Othello cuckolded by both Rodrigo and Cassio, and also he wants to see whether Cassio will also um, have any have some romantic inclination toward Desdemona, and if Cassio doesn't have, he would take fullest advantage of Cassio's exuberant nature, expressive demeanor. Expressive demeanor means he's very expressive, and he's a type who's demonstrative of his feelings. So holding her hand where he actually did not intend to uh, have any romantic engagement with Desdemona, he's just had some feelings, warm affection towards her, which he did not hide. And then you see that Iago gets Cassio drunk, and he gets both of them to fight, Cassio and Rodrigo. Uh, So it appears as if both men are fighting over Desdemona. Then Cassio stabs the governor of the town. So here as I said earlier, Iago's job is to instigate, to and to insinuate, right? What does it mean to instigate? What is the meaning of uh, instigate? Instigate means to bring about or initiate, all right, an action or an event. And and generally an instigation is has negative connotations. To start something, uh, to initiate. So there's a difference between to initiate and to instigate. When you initiate, you begin something. When you instigate, you provoke a person to do something. Okay, so provoking a certain action, that is um, instigating. And when you uh, insinuating is suggesting. So insinuating is actually very subtle. All right. So when if a man and woman are talking very innocently to each other in a very friendly way, a person with evil eyes would insinuate that they are having an affair. And who's to prove that they are not, right? So it is this kind of insinuation colors the perception of the onlooker. So this insinuation is done very craftily by Rodrigo, by Iago. And Iago is analyzing and seeing as to why Desdemona is interested in Othello. Going by the color of his skin, he could not be someone who a white woman is attracted to. So he imagines that it is his uh, physique, it is his brawn, it is his muscle that attracts her, and it is purely a sexual attraction, and that there is no love in it. But that is contrary to the truth. If you look at what actually attracted Desdemona to Othello is the qualities of heart and mind that he possessed. She found that he was very eloquent, and she was attracted to him because he was widely traveled. So he seemed to be a very learned man. All right. But here, um, Iago reads her attraction to Othello as being purely carnal. Carnal means of the flesh. So Iago suggests to Rodrigo that Cassio uh, is a competitor for Desdemona's attentions, that Cassio is an enemy, and creates this jealousy in Rodrigo and deceives him into thinking that he has to fight Cassio. So when there's this commotion about the fight between Cassio and Rodrigo, Othello demands to know what happened, and this is Iago's opportunity to malign Cassio. It is his opportunity to tell Cassio that this gentleman to whom he has given the rank of lieutenant is actually a man who is not good. He doesn't have a good character. And he paints him black, right? So now Cassio loses his rank. So you can see that Iago is achieving all that he set out to achieve. He wanted to strip Cassio of his rank. He has done it. And he also wants to foist on Cassio. He wants to ruin him altogether. He wants to foist on him the charges of um, being of being of claiming Desdemona's attention, of being of and he wants to foist on Desdemona the charge of infidelity, of unfaithfulness to her husband. So he wants to frame them. So framing is something that people who are evil do. Okay, so he wanted to frame Desdemona and Cassio as lovers, and this is what he reveals in his soliloquy. So as for this conflict, all right, it begins from the first part of the play, from the exposition, and the conflict becomes more, it becomes hotter and hotter, gets the plot becomes more complicated as we go. From the moment where uh, Iago spells out his grievance against Cassio, from the moment he sets out to upset uh, Desdemona's father, we know that he is on a course of revenge, and he is unrelenting. Unrelenting, he won't give up, and he will summon all the powers that of body and mind that he possesses to achieve his end. So uh, it's in a state of climax. We hold our breath till the end of the play because of Iago's ingenuity. Ingenuity means his uh, ability to think up new ideas and uh, create new situations which will destroy this marriage. So much as we think that Othello and Desdemona are an ideal couple, they have fought convention, they have broken barriers, they have pushed boundaries, and they have come together as a couple. Much as we want them to be together, the divisive force is more at work than the forces which can bring them, that which can bless this marriage, because it is it is destiny. It's the power of destiny which has and fate that which has meant this marriage to be an ill-fated one, which is overpowering. And Cassio innocently sends musicians to play under Othello's window, right? Othello sends them away. Now, Cassio seeks the good offices of Desdemona, and that is where again the plot is veering in the direction of tragedy. Access to Desdemona as a friend is could be his undoing. It proves to be his undoing because it it is Iago's opportunity once again to insinuate that Desdemona is having an affair with Cassio. So we see that this mischief, it gives an opportunity to the mischievous Iago. Desdemona is well meaning, innocent, and she listens to his story, and she assures him that she will help him. Uh, so you see that the powerful people, Othello is a powerful general, Desdemona is a wife of a powerful man. But you can see that the power of evil in Iago is overpowering, that these powerful people become victims to Iago's machinations, Iago's scheming and plotting. Now, you look at this is a very important thing about the handkerchief. When Othello, when Desdemona pleads for Cassio, um, it is misconstrued as she being in love with him and she's pleading for him. So now, who has sown the seed for this mistrust? It is Iago who has sown the seed of mistrust in the mind of Othello. And um, Othello is uh, having a headache on account of the stress. She offers him a handkerchief, and he drops the handkerchief to the floor. So this is that moment of bad luck, and Emilia picks up that handkerchief. This handkerchief is has a lot of significance because it is Othello's first gift to Desdemona, and Emilia is the wife of um, Iago. Iago has been wanting to have some concrete object as evidence of Desdemona's unfaithfulness. So he sees that it is his moment, it is his good luck that he gets that handkerchief. And this handkerchief has to go into the hands of Cassio. That will serve as proof, right? Um, so he plants this handkerchief in Cassio's room, uh, and Othello, being the gentleman that he is, he asks for ocular proof, visible proof that his wife is unfaithful. Cassio says that he's seen him wipe his beard with with Desdemona's handkerchief, the first gift that Othello gave her. So this is enough to stir up the anger of Othello, and he vows to take vengeance on Cassio. Um, so Othello is also physically affected by you can see that he had a headache earlier, and his emotions are so worked up that he faints. He has a fainting spell and has a fit of epilepsy. At this time, Cassio comes by. Um, and Othello wants further proof, so he asks. So Iago suggests that Othello should be in hiding, and Iago strikes up a conversation with Cassio, um, where he is. Cassio is actually talking about the time he had with the prostitute Bianca. All right. But that is misconstrued by Othello as the as the as the affair that Cassio is having with Desdemona. So that time Bianca comes with the handkerchief that Desdemona belongs to Desdemona, and she scolds Cassio for making her copy out the embroidery of a love token he has given to another woman. So here we see that um, vital information is uh, kept out, that it's the relationship between Bianca and it is the affair between, or rather, the physical relationship between Bianca and Cassio, which is being spoken about, but it is framed. It is just framed by snipping off the vital information and misrepresented to Othello as an affair between Cassio and Desdemona. So now Othello has got the proof that he wanted. He thinks it is time to confront her. And Iago, as any evil person would, he is playing a double game. He is, on the one hand, insinuating and instigating Othello. On the other, he is assuring Desdemona that all is well, that she need not worry, and that Othello is only upset about matters of state. And here he is assuring Rodrigo that he can break the marriage of Othello and Desdemona and get Desdemona for this rich man, Rodrigo. Uh, this is what a villain does, right? This and a villain plots, schemes, and he plays he plays up between people. He gives every interested party the assurance that they want and wins the trust. That is where the the plot progresses, or his evil schemes progress, where he's successful in winning and having the trust of people and deceiving them, whom he is actually deceiving. He's deceiving Rodrigo, deceiving Othello, deceiving Desdemona, deceiving Cassio, but he has the trust of all these people. Um, Again, through Rodrigo, he has deceived Rodrigo into thinking that Cassio is also a contender for Desdemona's uh, love and her attention and her hand. So he instructs Rodrigo to ambush Cassio. Then Cassio is actually wounded. He's not killed. Iago wounds Cassio and runs away. So Othello is under the assumption that Cassio has been killed, because this is the promise that Iago has made to Othello, that he would kill Cassio. This is another thing about tragedy. There's a lot of gore, bloodshed, fighting, and the end, and there's death. Many people's lives end, and the tragic hero's life also ends in a tragic way. Othello reaches a point where he decides to kill Desdemona uh, in her bedchamber. You should read that passage where the one of the most oft quoted lines in that passage is, put out the light and put out the light. Put out the light, switch off the bedroom light, and put out the light, snuff out the light in the life of Desdemona, snuff out, kill her. Put out the light and put out the light. Um, so a, this is a riveting scene. It is disturbing. Uh, Desdemona is totally caught unawares. She has no clue about all that has happened. So this is where we see the dramatic irony. Audiences at a higher level of awareness about all all the background, all the work that Iago has done into poisoning the mind of Othello, and she remonstrates that she is innocent, but Othello smothers her, he stifles her, he kills her. And then uh, just before she dies, she's so virtuous and she's she is a paragon of virtue, that she doesn't want to taint her husband. Even in her last moments, she doesn't want to taint her husband with murder. She says that she has committed suicide. Othello, of course, tells Emilia, the maid of Desdemona, that he has killed her for infidelity. He's in a righteous rage. Uh, Emilia knows about the innocence of her mistress, Desdemona. And Othello says that he has the handkerchief as proof. So here we see the falling action where the mystery is unraveled, where everything is unraveled. Now, how the handkerchief came into the possession of Cassio is revealed, and then Othello realizes, but he realizes too late. And one of the oft quoted lines from Othello is what we see in the last act of the play. He says, I am one who loved not wisely, but too well. So he has been very foolish, and Othello also kills himself. So the most important questions here are the character of Iago. And then I have also told you what a Shakespearean tragedy is and how it is different from the Greek tragedy and how it has elements of Greek tragedy in it. And then one of the things that is makes this plot complex is the handkerchief. So the handkerchief is part of the rising action and the falling action, the climax. And then you see Emilia, the wife of Iago, she's a witness to the good character of Desdemona. And then you also can be asked a question on the character of Desdemona. These are just some possible questions. You can probably prepare yourself for more. Thank you.